Hello everybody, it's Jen. I'm back with another design team project for Trinity Stamps. I'm having tons of fun playing with all the new release stamps and dies and stencils. So today I'm sharing a project with the House Mouse stamp set and coordinating dies. I am loving this stamp set. It is so unique. I love the little tree stump here for the house, and then the little mice characters and all the other little elements. The snail and the leaves and the mushrooms are just too cute for an autumn themed card, although really you could stretch this stamp and color it with any palette to create a card for any season, which might be fun. Maybe I should challenge myself to do a winter one using this particular stamp set. So for today, I'm using my Arteza Real Brush Markers. I went ahead and stamped all the images that come in the stamp set on some Bristol Smooth cardstock with my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. I will leave the colors of the markers I used below, but I'll try to go through them as I color as well. So for the browns, I'm using A134, which is coffee, and the A102, which is chocolate. So I went ahead and outlined the darkest areas that I wanted with the chocolate. That is the darker, I believe. Let me look. I don't want to mislead you. The coffee, actually, is the darker of the two. And then I went ahead and used the coffee one where I wanted to fill out that color, and that will allow me to get some nice dimension with using two colors. For the mice, I'm using the A130 Elephant Gray and the A174 Dolphin Gray. So again, using a little bit of that darkest color to create some shadows and the lightest color to provide most of the color for the images. So you can see here I've sped up the coloring quite a bit just because it takes a little bit of time to blend out the markers using a water brush. That is my preference for water brush coloring. I'm using the Ohuhu watercolor brushes. Those I got really inexpensively on Amazon recently, and I'm really loving them. I find they're great quality for the price point. So you can see, hopefully, as I'm coloring these, that I lay down the color, and then for me, I find it easiest to use a circular motion with the water brushes. So if you're new to water brush coloring, play around, figure out what works for you, but for me, I find I get the best blend when I use a circular motion. So you can kind of see there that I'm blending out that color and really kind of trying to move that around the image, keeping the darkest areas to the outer edge and then bringing in some of those lighter highlights or less color to the center. I'm also kind of skipping around here. I went from the trunk of the little stump house to the mouse. That's just to allow some time for the colors to dry. Then I don't have to worry as much about them bleeding into each other should I kind of by accident touch one of the colors. So it's just kind of a precautionary. You can do it however you want. I just find it easier to jump around. So for the greens, I'm using A126 Crocodile Green and A157 the Chamomile. The Chamomile is almost sort of like a camouflage green, or like an olive green, I think maybe is the best way to say that. It's really pretty, and with the darker green, it gives lots of contrast. For the red, I didn't mention I'm using the A182 Wine Red. It's kind of that burgundy color. I was really going for an autumn color palette here. The yellow is A156 Sunset Yellow, and then I'm using some A116, which is peach here, just for the insides of the ears of the mouse and the little cheeks. And we're all done with the coloring. So you can see here I'm moving on to the background. I'm doing a Distress Oxide blended background today. Went ahead and cut out all my images using the coordinating die set, or the coordinating dies, which are perfect. So the colors that I'm using for my background today, I used the scattered straw for the sky portion. And I didn't want to introduce blue to this card because there wasn't blue kind of appearing anywhere else in this card. And I think for like a grassy outdoor scene with a sky background, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're doing a blue sky and there's nothing else. But for this card, like I said, I really wanted it to have that autumnal feel with the kind of rich colors. So I didn't want to introduce that blue, seeing it's more of a cool color. Wanted to kind of keep it in these warm earth tones. So I thought the yellow would work fine, given I have the yellow in the mushrooms, and I thought it could kind of represent a sunny day. For the grass, I used crushed olive for the first layer, and then I brought in some peeled paint just to kind of darken that up a bit, and I felt like it went really well with the two colors of green that I used to color my image. Now I'm just going ahead and creating my little scene. And I sort of had a case of, I wanted to put it all on the card. I don't know if you ever have that when you really love a stamp set and all the little images that come in it. But you'll see here that even though I tried to get all of the images on, I didn't in the end. I did show you with the trunk of the tree there, or the little stump, and one of the mice, that the coordinating dies do cut out in between some of those images. So that's wonderful because it takes away some of those white spaces that would otherwise be there if the dies weren't as intricate as they are. So here's where I love this little snail and I'm trying to figure out if I can fit it on. Now in hindsight, I think I would have had an easier time finding a place for it if I hadn't colored his shell in the maroon color. So I might change that up if I were to do that again. And I do eventually get him on the card here after I go ahead and stamp out my sentiment. Now I should have used a stamping tool here like my mini Misty, because my Distress Oxide ink was not dry. So you can see there it's not as vibrant black sentiment as I would have preferred. I mean, it's fine, but I would have liked to have double stamped it just to get it a little bit darker. Now, if it really bothered me, I'd go ahead and stamp it out onto some white cardstock and heat emboss the sentiment, but I'm fine with the way it ended up. So I'm just adhering my card to my card base. This is an A2 size card at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Just some simple kind of details to this clean and simple scene card. I'm going to add some of my black glaze pen to the eyes and the nose, making sure not to forget the little eyeballs of the snail, which I did end up putting, as you saw, on the little mushroom. Now I wanted to break up the maroon color of his shell, so I'm using my white gel pen, which I think I just need to switch out because I'm having lots of trouble with it. I use it all the time and I think it's just getting down to the end. So I am rubbing that onto my finger. It just heats up the ink and allows it to kind of move or glide more easily out of the pen. So I gave the snail some polka dots, and I think that just helps differentiate him from the mushrooms a little bit. Finally, just adding some highlights just to add a little bit of detail, not too much on this card, and no extra embellishments. I love the way this scene turned out on its own and didn't feel like it needed very much. So thank you so much for watching. I've got a couple videos here, including the first 2 cards I made for the release, and some other videos for you to check out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next week with another video for Trinity. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.